Globosat is seriously dedicated to education, and I hope we've been. This is what our fourth time that we've been to Brazil, in São Paulo and Rio, and I hope it continues. I'm presuming, I'm hoping too, that it will show results soon. The interest is astounding. It doesn't surprise me, actually. It gratifies me. But I remember lecturing in Bogota to 700 people. I lectured in Buenos Aires to at least 600, right? And there is a hunger for learning in South America in general that is really intense, and more intense than I've had numbers like that in China too, but China has 1.3 billion people. Okay, so, but it's the desire to know in South America is intense. I mean, it's intense everywhere, but here's the difference. There are people who desire to know, and then there are people who desire to know and show up. Okay? Then there are people who desire to know and show up and use it. Okay? And those numbers just get smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay? And then there are those who use it with real talent. And that's the smallest number of all. What makes a television series great is, yes, wonderful storytelling, high suspense, tremendous surprises and revelations, and just great storytelling. But in order to do that, you need very complex psychologies. And you need characters that are not just three-dimensional. I did an analysis of one of the greatest characters ever written by anybody for any medium, Tony Soprano. And Tony Soprano, in my analysis, is 12-dimensional. And as a result, there were 88 episodes, I think, of The Sopranos. Up and through to the 88th episode, you're still discovering aspects of Tony's personality you haven't seen for the previous 87. The writers of these TV series then have to have minds like psychiatrists. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have to be able to see what happens when people are in this situation with that person and so forth, and how can we just not keep repeating. Because if you keep repeating it over a long form, there's a principle we'll talk about, which I call character exhaustion. When the dimensionality of a character is exhausted, when you've done everything and revealed everything about this character you can, the audience stops watching. And I would argue that Dexter, you know that series?
Yeah.
Dexter reached character exhaustion in the 6th season. But it went on for 2-3 more seasons, and it just went downhill. And so how do you keep a character from exhaustion, emptying him out over 60 hours, 80 hours? And I would think that the standard of the future will be 100 hours. That what writers should be thinking about now is creating the 100-hour story. That's going to take some brilliant writing of characters and cast design, getting a group of characters in a particular set of relationships. And so the future is fantastic. The storytelling in the 21st century, these 100-hour stories that are going to be the cathedrals of the 21st century. They'll be the most magnificent works of art that will dominate 21st century culture, I predict. And as a result, the cinema is going to atrophy, and broadcasting, television broadcasting as we know it today, is going to disappear. What people want today is service. They do not want to be on a schedule, and they want what they want anywhere they are. They don't want to have to be in their house. They don't want to certainly don't want to have to be in a cinema. They don't want to have to be anywhere at any time, and they want what they want. So, if you service these people, if you give them great stories on a screen, you can open it up, whatever, right? And you sit in the train, and there it fills your vision just like a film would, right? If you were sitting in the movies, the screen's like this wide, right? Well, that's an iPad. And you watch while you're riding, you stop, you go where you are, when you want to, you get to enjoy hopefully wonderful writing. People who can provide that service will own entertainment. There's a lot of crap. I mean, there's no question, okay? A lot of it, you're right. I mean, a lot of stuff is bad, without doubt. But when you pull out the very best, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, the Game of Thrones, the Vikings. Have you ever seen the Vikings?
No.
Fantastic. The Vikings is good. I mean, Ray Donovan. I mean, series after series in the United States, at least, is the best writing ever. And because we have hundreds of channels, and there's this unlimited time and very limited talent. I mean, God just did not give out that much talent to fill hundreds of channels 24 hours a day. And so the very best writers, now in the American system, the writers run television, not the producers. In the American system, the writers become the producers. And writing doesn't cost money. You have paper, pencil, right, printer, computer, whatever. That's your overhead. What costs, what's expensive is this. I mean, we're not talking about special effects. We're not talking about even, outdoor scenes necessarily. Most of the scenes in a television series are indoors. The cast size is small. It's inexpensive to produce television. And what is expensive, as I said, is creativity. So if Brazilian television creates writers who can create brilliant characters and tell wonderful stories, they can all do it in one room, and it'll be brilliant. The writers have to learn how not to explain everything. In Brazil, the characters say exactly what they're thinking, absolutely what they're thinking. There is no subtext. And if there's a difference between what Brazilian television does versus what the United States does, the difference between a national and international television series, it's the question of subtext. Dimensionality, complexity, but the execution of the writing and trusting the actor and the audience to understand without explanation. That is that is absolutely fundamental to creating an international series. The British created this wonderful TV series, if they have it here in Brazil, called Downton Abbey, right? You have Downton Abbey, okay? Downton Abbey is extremely low budget. They rent this castle and they shoot virtually everything inside or just outside the door, right? I mean, it's very low budget. Except for Maggie Smith, none of the actors are stars. And the world is fascinated with Downton Abbey. It's not because we want to go back to the days when we had aristocrats and servants. It's because what's really fascinating is how did this system work? What goes on between servants and masters? I mean, really, what is the psychology? What's the power struggle? How does this thing work? And it fascinates us because it is a culture that is so alien to us, but it's human. And so the English have made a TV series on a low budget that everyone in the world loves. right? Because it's that perfect combination, culturally specific, universally human, and therefore fascinating. There's a sense of frustration in the Brazilian writer that they have to please people. They work for producers, and the producers are, they think, narrow-minded. But all producers, all producers everywhere are concerned about money. But yeah, there's a sense. That's my impression. Is that that the Brazilian writers want opportunity to be original, and they don't have that opportunity. Whatever the system is, the key is giving writers an opportunity to experiment, to make mistakes, to invent, to try this, try that, and with that kind of freedom, I think wonderful things can happen.